Hear the latest from the IEBC as results, the numbers from the different constituencies across the country. So far, 99% of Form 34As reported, and earlier this evening, IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati released the first batch of presidential results, and these are the constituency verified results for the presidential election. Webuye East constituency, Bungoma County. The numbers were given as of when the IEBC chair gave the status update was that Raila Odinga was at 13,720, William Ruto at 15,412, Wahiga Maure at 110, and Wajakoya at 249. That is from Webuye East constituency in Bungoma County. We are here at our field studio here at the Bomas of Kenya, and we'll be giving you updates from the IEBC as and when we get them. But for now, a brief chat with our analyst here in our field studio, Njoki Wamai. She's an assistant professor of international relations at the School of Humanities and Social Sciences at the United States International University, Africa, that is USIU. Many thanks for speaking to us, Professor.
Asante.
Now, let's look at the electoral process in general, Professor. The Constitution mandates the IEBC to carry out a transparent, secure, and verifiable election. Your assessment of the process so far, even as counting goes on, even as the Form 34As are reported here at the National Tallying Center. How has the IEBC fared?
Oh, IEBC, I think, has done unimaginably well. Someone was just actually sending me a message. It's amazing how much, in terms of transparency, which was not there in the previous elections, which brought lots of tensions. So this election, I think in the history of the IEBC and also its predecessor, the ECK, is seen to be the most transparent, given that everybody now can access this Form 34A and be in the IEBC portal, which was not there before. So I think that's the IEBC. I think we need to congratulate the IEBC because they've done exemplarily well in transparency. In terms of maybe the delay, that's where maybe many people feel IEBC has not done well. But we've just had Chebukati saying that it's the challenges now of transparency. This is what we asked for. So the process of making sure that they match the tallied results in the portal with the results coming in with the returning officers, of course, might take some more time. So that's the challenge. But in terms of transparency, IEBC scores an A. The delay and the logistical, that I think the IEBC is doing very, very badly. Yeah.
And this is the first time that the IEBC has made public the forms portal to allow Kenyans in general, those here and those in the diaspora, to access the Form 34A. But in terms of how to manage expectations, the IEBC has 7 days by law to announce the results officially. In terms of how to manage expectations, now that Kenyans are able to log in, do their calculations, and draw their own conclusions.
Yes.
This is the first time, Professor, that we're seeing politicians, aspirants, actually conceding defeat. So there will be losers and there will be winners.
Yeah.
So in terms of how to manage expectations, how has the IEBC done as regards public engagement this time round?
I think that's also a challenge that the IEBC seems to be having. So it's not managing expectations well. It's just a few, was it an hour ago that we had the chair of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, start addressing people, talking about these issues and trying to calm down any tensions and explaining the process that the results you're getting are provisional. Like the results you've just shared right now, 13,000, are the official results. But if you go to the provisional results that the different media houses have, also now Kenyans have their own tallying centers in their houses or among their friends in WhatsApp groups. There's 6 million or there's like, is it around 12 million? Those are provisional results. And I think the IEBC needs to do more, like they should be in these spaces in the media, reminding people these are just provisional results and don't get it twisted. The official results, we are still at 13,000. The results that they've matched from 34A and B from the tallying station, I mean from the polling stations versus what is in the portal. So I think the IEBC needs to do more. It's not doing enough. It needs to get onto its social media. I think they are speaking, of course, in the media center here at Bomas, but most of the conversations are happening online, on social media. So if the IEBC has people who manage their social media, I think that's where they need to be also having these conversations to calm down any tensions and also any impression that what we are seeing are official results. No, those are just provisional results, and they're from different media houses, tallying at different times, and that's where we're having kind of the little discrepancies.
And an interesting and very critical point you raised there about social media and the fact that we're now seeing several civil society groups actually raising concern about the false information and that might be misleading that we're seeing in sections of social media. And I saw earlier, was it yesterday or today, Twitter actually flagged down a tweet by one of the political leaders that, you know, had posted a form allaying that results looked a certain way in a certain constituency.
Yes, and that's why, as we are saying, the IEBC and everybody, even the media houses, like, of course, where we are at, as we report also the provisional results, we need to be reminding them this is just provisional. And the IEBC, as I'm saying, they need to get onto social media, because one of the greatest challenges we've had in our elections is fake news. And right now, and you know how Kenyans are techie, they are internet savvy. In fact, I think in Africa, after those three Arab countries, Algeria and Egypt, Kenya probably comes third or second. So almost everybody has their own tallying station in their phone, and you know how active Kenyans are on WhatsApp groups, on Facebook, on Twitter. So we have a lot of fake news. Like, you've seen how during the day you had all these people who had won the elections, and then later in the day it reversed. And so that can bring a lot of tension, and people need to remember, because everybody is tallying their own results. So let's not get hyped up and think that's till we say the fat lady sings, and the fat lady singing in here at the IEBC commissioner.
And yet, as we were talking earlier, as I was speaking to you earlier, very interesting, the observations from other parts of East Africa, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, really admiring the Kenyan way of doing things, particularly with the IEBC, allowing access by giving Kenyans access to this public portal, which they say in their countries is a pipe dream, has never happened, that in fact journalists are not even allowed to the national tallying centers at the time of the election. So even as we express concern over the misleading information, we're getting accolades from other parts of Africa over the fact that the transparency seems to be a force to reckon with, in terms of the fact that we are now able to access this information publicly. Yeah,
and of course, and as I'm saying, we need to not just congratulate the IEBC, we need to congratulate this media and the civil society and the many groups that went to court to sue the IEBC over the many challenges we had. And also, I think the other East African countries need to realize this has been a journey. It's not just boom from 2007. So it's been a journey of institutional building the institution of the IEBC. You remember ECK and the sad, I would call it, the debacle we had when the late Kivuitu was even said, I don't know where my returning officers are. It was, and you remember that's what brought the tension and also the trigger for the violence. So also this, our neighbors should know it's because of the lessons we've learned. It's because of the journey we've traveled, which has led to catastrophic results like death. You know, we lost almost 1,200 people in the 2007 election, when we had people used to, polling stations and returning officers used to move around with their what are they called? with their votes to come to the National Tallying Center. We never knew how many the presidential results at that point. So all this has been because of every election time, and because of the many lawsuits that civil society, that individuals have done to sue the IEBC. Also the IEBC in itself, of course, they've gotten into a space of internal reflection to improve electioneering process. And that's where we moved from, of course, the ECK and the challenges it had, and then the 2013 elections. And the 2017 elections, you remember we had logistical challenges of the famous server. And of course, the death of some people like Chris Musando. And the server became such a space of contention. Why? Because, again, the IEBC had the monopoly of Form 34A and B, and we did not have access as citizens. And that was one of the outcomes of the processes that led to, we need to change this. And one of the outcomes, which now we are celebrating, was openness. So open the server, which was now open a portal, which everybody, IEBC, it's on the IEBC website, that all of us can access the forms. And that's why this has reduced tensions dramatically and also increased, I think, it's deepening our democracy. And that's why I believe East African countries now are looking up to Kenya for what would be a transparent election. Yeah.
And in terms of the electorate, and just going back to voting day, and the fact that this might have made history as one of the lowest voter turnout elections experienced in this country's history. In terms of the low voter turnout, vis-a-vis the enthusiasm we saw during the campaign period, Professor, and now looking at the anxiety, so to speak, over the results, people waiting for the IEBC to announce, the winners in this electoral contest. What happened to the enthusiasm we saw the election period?
Yes, it's amazing, actually. But also remember, the enthusiasm came because it was the euphoria created by the political parties. And let's say the political parties this time put up a good show. From the colors to the campaign songs to the everything, they put up a good show. Especially the four contenders, they put up a good show. And so, of course, it inevitably really created this euphoria. But remember, despite the euphoria, there were the main issues that most Kenyans feel that, despite all the show and the drama and everything, if there's high voter apathy. And maybe I share the statistics. 2013 we had 86% voter turnout, 86%. 2017 it reduced to 79%, and now from the provisional results it's at 60%. That's a huge, almost 20% decline. And you can see we had 22 million voters register and only 14 million voted. So where are the 8 million people? Yeah, and that should be a huge concern, not especially for the political class, because I think there are three issues I would attest to why maybe this has come about. One, of course, is the apathy from the youth. Remember, young people make up 75% of the Kenyan populations, and those were the people that the new voters that registered, I can imagine, in 2022. But many young people feel the political class is taking them for a ride. And so as long as their issues have not been addressed, and you've seen, even like I was listening to Sauti Sol, they've even sang a song saying sikupi tano tena na sikufi na wewe tena. And that, for me, that exemplifies really what many young people in Kenya feel about the political class. So we have a political class that seems to be very alienated from the issues that young people are dealing with, issues of unemployment, issues of just hopelessness. Their aspirations are not realized in this country. yet we have a huge gap between the rich, widening gap between the rich and poor. We have a lot of investment, capital investment on huge infrastructure, but we are still not dealing with the issues that many young people are dealing with. Beyond also young people, I think the general population, especially after COVID-19, they feel that most of the issues that matter to them, whether it's lower prices, consumer goods prices. You know how we have a huge inflation, and I know it's not unique to Kenya, it's all over the world. But the inflation and the cost of living, we saw the UNGA crisis recently. The cost of healthcare in Kenya is astronomical. And so all these challenges, I think most people, even I talk to, would say, I can never queue anymore for somebody who is going to be earning $1 million a month, and I'm still, I can't even, I'm one step away from, you know, poverty. If I get sick, I'm dead if I don't have a healthcare. So,
right, but talking about the middle class, Professor, they are the most active on social media, and particularly the youth, and we've seen them really engaging in this conversation. For those that registered to vote, and I was in the field, Professor, optically I could see that there was not a lot of youth representation in those queues, and yet they're engaging in this conversation around who is likely to take the day, who is likely to carry the day, what the political class has done for them, what they have not done for them. So the conversation is happening, but it did not translate to votes.
Yes, and it's exactly that. They feel that I'm happy to engage, to make noise on social media or to engage politically, but I'm not going to wake up for you and spend, and you remember we used to spend hours queuing. So and for me, this is an indictment on the political class and the political elite, all of them, whoever wins. We need to change our politics, and we need to change our politics dramatically so that all citizens can feel beyond, say, participating by engaging on social media. I am going to vote. I am going to join a political party, because political participation beyond the passive, because this is more passive, being on social media is a passive way of political participation. We need people joining political parties. We need people voting. We need people participating in changing their politics. But because they feel that their vote doesn't matter, then nobody is going to wake up and spend their time in the cold, or especially in the cold this August, for somebody who will not change anything. So it's an indictment on the political class. Things have to change in Kenyan politics. Probably reduce salaries, so that, because also that's a big deal. People feel like, why would I waste my time for somebody who will be earning so much money and they'll not remember me till 5 years later?
Right. And before we hand back over to studio, Professor, and like the past two general elections, we've seen more women come out to declare interest. Say in the governor's seat, we're seeing Homa Bay, Nakuru County, Machakos County, Kirinyaga County. There we're seeing women eyeing this very big position, actually the biggest after the presidency. And therefore, in terms of the numbers and the provisional results and what we're seeing as regards the numbers, in places where women are running for governor, your assessment of this, because this time round we've seen many women declare interest in the governor's seat.
Yes. So first of all, I think, of course, we can't congratulate them yet because this is still provisional results. But I'm very, very excited that they're not that many. I think there are 5 so far we've seen in the provisional results, of course, to be confirmed after the official IEBC results. But it's progress. It's a progress. I think we can do better. Remember, we have 47 governor positions, so I would have even expected more, at least if we could get to the 10 position mark. So if we can have more women voting, I think we had also, I think going back to this Martha Karua factor, we are still yet to determine whether really she influenced more women voting. But I think I know many friends of mine who would say, I'm only going to vote now because I can see there's a woman. So there is also maybe having a woman run for a very high position. Also influence, I think, many women first to come out to vote, especially middle-class women, So women came out to vote. We would need to see the statistics at the end of the day from the IEBC, how many women came out to vote compared to maybe previous elections. And I really hope the IEBC is going to give us also gender disaggregated data on the voters in terms of youth, how many came out to vote, in terms of women. I don't think they've been doing that, but it would be really nice if they did that, because then we would know which section we need to work with if it's about voter apathy. But I think it's lots of progress. I think we have more women who came out to vote, and I agree with you, we had more women who came out to be candidates, and at all levels, at MCA level, MP, senator, beyond, of course, the affirmative action seats of the county women representative and governor. And we can see women have been vindicated. If we can have, women can do it just like men can. And so it is progress in the right direction for our democracy, but more so also for women, for bridging the gender gap, which is very, very important.
Right. Yeah. And as we close, Professor, your assessment of this election, when you look at 2017 and looking at the situation now where we are seeing winners celebrating, of course, because of provisional results, and also losers conceding a defeat. As regards the way forward and how to do things, you know, every electoral season, every electoral process, in terms of how we're seeing things playing themselves out and the staggered way of releasing results that we're seeing the IEBC opt to do, of course, only 7 days by the law, so we only have at least 3 more days to go. But their move to stagger these results, as opposed to previous elections, your assessment of this in comparison to the last general election, where there's been strides and where there could be improvement.
So, of course, as we are all celebrating, we've done much better in terms of transparency in this election compared to previous election. And of course, it was because of that decision after changing many electoral rules, so that we can now all have access to the results as they come out or from the polling station. So the election really is not really staggered, because staggered we would need to be having different, like the presidential election, different at a different time, with the devolved seats, the governor and the rest of the election. What actually the IEBC has done this time is to make sure the presidential results are relayed at the polling station. Previously, they used to be relayed much later, maybe at this National Tallying Center. So what we had is, in every polling station, the presiding officer would read who has won, of course, all the results of the member of county assembly, the MCA, and also the presidential results at that time, and the rest of them, of course, the women rep, senator, and governor. So all these results, and of course, take a photo and send it to the portal, so all of us can see. And going back to your question, that's why I think most of the candidates are conceding defeat, because they can see it. It's open, it's there. Remember, previously, these results would be carried to the next space, which was the county, and then after that, the RO or the returning officer will now bring them to Nairobi. And of course, there were bound to be lots of issues happening. Sometimes staffing of ballots, sometimes disappearing of Form 33, 34A and B. Yeah. But now you can't say it has disappeared. There's some, I think in one space, a presiding officer was being asked, where is the form? But at least there is because she took the photo immediately in the presence of all the agents in the polling station. It makes this very credible, and that's why candidates are easily conceding, because I'm not even sure what would you raise, and yet everybody saw, including your agent, they all agreed, and they took the photo, and it was sent, and it's on the portal. So I think that's part of what has been happening, and that's why we see more admitting that it's okay, I've lost, and they're losing very graciously. But of course, we saw some I think in Kirinyaga, not losing graciously.
And of course, the IEBC chair was tasked to explain what would happen in cases where there was manual voting, such as Makueni and Kakamega. And the IEBC told us that in such cases, there is always 5 copies of these, and therefore that there would still be Kim's kits sent to these areas, and therefore there would still be a photo taken and this image electronically transmitted, and therefore no room there for any doubt as regards any stolen, or rather any spoiled or lost Form 34As. We thank you so much for your time, Professor Njoki Wamai. She's an assistant professor of international relations, School of Humanities and Social Sciences at the USIU. We're here at the National Selling Center at the Bomas of Kenya, where Higa Maura will be here in the field studio very shortly, even as we wait for more status updates from the IEBC. I'll now hand over to Sam Gituku back in our communications center as we continue with Kenya's Choice 2022.
All right, thank you so much, Lilian Muli, there from the Bomas of Kenya. Of course, after having that very interesting conversation about the latest and the state of elections so far that we've been able to witness. I'm looking at the site of the IEBC so far. Out of the 291 Form 34Bs that are expected, 145 have been uploaded. So that's 49.83%. And this information is crucial. It's important because now this would be the results from the constituencies, bearing in mind that the constituency returning officers are supposed to upload those forms and then head to the Bomas of Kenya to give an opportunity to Wafula Chebukati, the returning officer of this presidential election, to be in a position to verify all those forms and check them against the Form 34As. Of course, we've been here with Koki Muli, almost our resident analyst on matters election now, and of course Mwangi Waituru, who is a policy and advocacy analyst. And I want to thank you both for making time for us. It's now 9 o'clock, and I understand it's time that we have to pave way for another team before you come back.
Napenda jinsi unavyosema hivi kwa sababu umefurahia kuwa siku ya kwanza ilikuwa ni wewe, tunakungojea.
Nafurahi kufanya kazi Mashrim.
Na bila shaka matangazo haya ni moja kwa moja mubashara, tutakuwa tunakuletea mengi zaidi baadaye, tukiwa na wenzetu ambao wako tayari karibu na studio. Sisi tunaondoka, lakini tutakuacha na takwimu za washindi pamoja na matokeo ya wale ambao tayari wameshinda katika maeneo mbalimbali.
Na bila shaka kutoka kwangu mimi sina la ziada, ila tu kukutakia usiku mwema unapoendelea kufuatilia matangazo yetu ya moja kwa moja. Naitwa Mwanahamisi Hamadi, hadi wakati mwingine ambapo tutakapokutana.